All right, welcome everyone to this daily Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for Thursday, April 6, 2017. So today, a very important day as it was yesterday astrologically. We still have Saturn Retrograde, well, station here today, going retrograde up until August. We got Mars still trining up to Pluto, which is very much about action, maybe making some changes here today. And the moon's going to be in Leo. So I think feeling, perhaps generally the day, wanting to express ourselves, or maybe wanting a bit of fun, entertainment, maybe feeling a bit creative, things like that. That more passionate spirit for life, or just wanting some fun, can be emphasized here as a backdrop. But along with that, with Saturn going retrograde, there's now this re-examining of these structures that is taking place up until August. So if there has been anything you have been building in your life since last August, it's a good time now for these coming months to sort of rework them, restructure them. Anything that you have been essentially building in your life, particularly things that require responsibility there. So anyways, so that's sort of shifting, our foundations in life are shifting this week. And then this Mars trine Pluto, though, does give us some good energy, or perhaps motivation or confidence maybe, to make some changes that we may otherwise not make sometimes, because Mars trine Pluto can give us that very good strength to actually make those changes, be willing to see things deeply, and again, remove anything that is no longer serving us, so we can make the changes we want to see. So that's the day in a nutshell. We do also have Venus sort of squaring up to Saturn going into tomorrow and into the weekend, which does suggest that there might be some challenge with our values here today, or with relationships, something like that. But let's go ahead and break all this down in more detail when we return. All right, so there is the moon in Leo, just entered into here from yesterday. So, yesterday was that void of course moon I was talking about, which made it a good time for more of the meditative, watery type of pursuits. But I think today there can be a bit of fire. Fire for enjoyment, fire for self-expression, and again, just having a bit of fun in our life can go a long ways. It really helps us feel a bit emotionally stable and rooted with Leo. Speaking of water, though, we're not, out of the watery time. These last few weeks and this whole time period is very much about Pisces, still very much having to do with surrender, letting go of everything that isn't in our immediate sphere of influence, that, is beyond our control. So Pisces is about finding peace through letting go, through surrender, and in that peace, getting in touch with that intuition, that inner guidance that can help us flow in the direction that life is taking us. Instead of just swimming against the current, it's listening to the current, listening to where the waters are flowing, and then going in that direction. And it is a great time to take action. We got Mercury and Mars in Aries. So with Mercury, our minds are pretty clear about who we are, what we want. Mars can help us attain that. So speaking of that, Mars trine Pluto, very fiery. It is a fire trine. And so there is a lot of support to be making changes this week. So as I said, if there is anything that you feel like is a deep change, maybe not major, but something deep, something that does require maybe facing some fears, accepting some things, about ourselves, about life, whatever it is, and then taking the action and setting the initiative to make it happen. Excuse me. So that's what this trine's all about, is actually taking the action, taking the initiative, and the steps to realize that. So it's going to be an orb all day. It was an orb yesterday, even going into the weekend a little bit. So implementing it, but maybe it's not in the external reality for you. Maybe it's more internally. Maybe some of you are making more internal changes, right? And I think that's how fundamentally things start anyways. They start within, and then naturally without, right? Naturally, then things just kind of fall in place, or, there's no real thinking about it. It's once we make the inner change, we just naturally do it in the external environment. So anyways, very powerful there, very important aspect. But with all that, there's all this kind of pivoting going on, and that's the Saturn retrograde. So here, particularly with the structures, things you've been building that again have been involving responsibility since last August, is now going through this re-examination, restructuring. And that's exactly what we want to do. So being, I think, flexible today, see what is shifting with those structures, and then continue to be flexible, because when there's a retrograde, usually there's, again, because we're re-examining things, there's new information, there's things changing, and so we want to be as flexible as possible in the process. And really getting on the side of Saturn, actually, restructuring, getting in there and making perhaps some changes there within the foundations of our life, of what we've been building, is a great way of working with the retrograde. Oftentimes they say retrogrades aren't a good time to do things. I don't believe that. I believe retrogrades are an excellent time to do things, but it's the modification things. It's the redoing, the restructuring. That's the kind of actions we want to take during the retrograde. So anyways, with all that shifting, on another more minor note, going into tomorrow on the weekend, with that Saturn retrograde, we start to have this Venus square Saturn, both planets being retrograde, mind you. So it's going to really drag this out. And so it's going into the weekend. So Venus is all about our values. Venus is all about our relationships, and also about the material realm and the things we enjoy, really. Just the things we enjoy connecting to, whether it's people, material things, or whatever it might be. So it's a bit of challenge with this, as there is with all Saturn squares. And the challenge is how we can have responsibility here. All right, so maybe asking yourself today and tomorrow, how can you take a responsible approach to the resources, to the values, and to the relationships, right? Maybe commitment, thinking long term when it comes to our values. That's what Saturn helps us do. But the square is saying it might be uncomfortable to do that, may not want to do that, but taking that pragmatic, long-term, disciplined approach, I think, is an excellent way of working with all these squares. And as a result, yes, things are being built with those values. Things are being built with those relationships for the long term. All right, so along with that, we do have some minor lunar aspects. We are in the gibbous phase now, so things are starting to move forward with the new beginnings from last week. We have a bit of momentum going into the weekend. We have a bit of awareness now through the weekend as well. So it is an excellent time for insight, but taking action nonetheless. And these minor lunar aspects, we have a bit of maybe inspiration the first half of the day with a sextile up to Jupiter, but maybe a bit of clash with our personal needs. Maybe there's a bit of blockage or something like that. It's always good to, with squares up to Mars, maybe take a step back, detach from the ego, detach from the things we want, and that can help mitigate if there is any bit of clash with those wants and needs the first half. But the aspects look quite good for the day. The second half, we have this, what is a trine, actually a grand trine. Yeah, a grand trine with Uranus and Saturn and the moon. So the second half, maybe feeling quite freeing. Maybe actually feeling like we do want to make some changes with those structures, in fact. And we're feeling both free-spirited and grounded at the same time. So very good combination there. And again, it does support what can be this modification of where maybe we can have more freedom with our structures. Maybe we can restructure things so it's more of an expression of what we're truly about. And we could certainly be feeling that freedom the second half. It could be easy, maybe mixing things up, trying some new things, but yet we're grounded and responsible, at least feeling wise, the second half. All right, so that's the day in a nutshell. Simply, I know there's a lot going on astrologically, but simply, there's this Mars trine Pluto, an excellent time for making changes, maybe taking the actions to do that, while still being flexible and adaptive with Saturn retrograde, particularly with the structures. What can be modified? What can be changed? How can we have a plan A, B, C, and D as things are shifting throughout these coming months? All right, and with those values and relationships, seeing the long term. Patience and discipline, responsibility is the key with that. Of course, still a very watery time, very good for listening to intuition. Again, letting go of everything we don't know with Pisces. And today, though, maybe having a bit of fun, entertainment, playfulness can go a long ways. All right, so I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. And I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.